as again, I take this common ground approach. If the skeptics are going to give me these dates and they're within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses, I'll take it. We'll go with that. We can date them earlier. We can argue for that. But how do these compare? How do these compare to other sources? Now, if we were to use the same timeline here, so the same scale, if we're going to compare Alexander the Great when we have his first biography, and he died in 325 BC, and we get our first biography of him, it's a little bit later. It's about 300 years to 400 years later. And Plutarch and Arrian are the two later ones, and they're considered the best sources for Alexander the Great. But Alexander the Great's not the only one. Buddhism. How about the dating for the Buddha? Yep, there we go. 325 is when he died. And then these are all going to be to scale. So we see Diodorus, but he's not considered to be the best source we have. It's going to be Arrian and Plutarch, writing in the 1st century. And then into the start of the 2nd century. Then when it comes to Buddha, now there's some debate, just a 1,000-year debate on when Buddha lived, kind of a big gap there. But if we take the traditional dating for Buddha's life, there's an author named Thich Nhat Hanh. He's probably one of the West's most leading scholars on Buddhism. He's recently passed away. But he says for 400 years after Buddha's death, his teachings were only transmitted orally. So again, I'm running all the way down and around the corner over there to get to Buddha's, from when he lived to the first writings that we have. This is from Ed Kahns. He's a Buddhist scholar. He has this work, The Buddhist Scriptures. And here he says, very similarly to Thich Nhat Hanh, Buddhist tradition differs fundamentally from that of Christianity. In Christianity, we can distinguish an initial tradition embodied in the New Testament from a continuing tradition which consists of the fathers and the doctors of the church, the decisions of councils. Here's the key part. Buddhists possess nothing that corresponds to the New Testament. They don't have anything like it. And so we see this is not just unique to Alexander the Great, but we see it with Buddhism. And so now we're starting to see, okay, the New Testament, even if we take the late dates, because we want to be charitable, right? We could be charitable to the skeptics and say, okay, even on your dates, they're still within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses. We can't do that with Buddhism. We can't do that with Alexander the Great. So we start to see, okay, there's some challenges here. So as we start looking at these within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses, let's see if we can get one example do one more example. Tiberius. He's the one who was emperor when Jesus was crucified. He died in 37 AD. So he's dying about here. Our earliest reference for him, now someone writes in 30 AD, but it's obviously not a full account of his life. So the next person that writes is going to be Tacitus, which is after John. So the emperor, the ruler of the known world at that time, doesn't have his first biography all the way until the start of the 2nd century. So a large gap. Why would we have 4 Gospels written within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses for a Jewish carpenter who was crucified, all within the 1st century? So we start to see these things, and these can be helpful for us to unpack.